If you think AI taking your job is something you'll worry about in the future, that's your first mistake. This is not about future, this is already happening.
Many existing jobs will entirely go away.
There's already whacking corporate jobs that work will be optional.
Top 5 IT firms collectively added just 17 net employees.
Some jobs will disappear and some will slowly change. And people have reached 2026 and realized their job does not exist the way it used to. And the gap won't be between people with jobs and people without jobs. It will be between people who saw this coming and people who did not. This video is not about fear or headlines. It's about what AI actually means for your job and what's changing right now and what you need to be ready for. Because the real risk is not AI, it's being unprepared. Later in this video, I will give you a simple framework to assess your own job and see where you actually stand. I spent 17 years in corporate and I watched people did not lose their jobs because they were not good. They lost the ground because they did not see their role was being redesigned around them. I saw it happen to my colleagues, people who had been there longer than me, and people who knew their work inside out. But when the shift came, whether it was a new software, a restructure, or just efficiency gains, they were the last ones to adapt because they thought their experience would protect them and it did not. The ones who came out ahead, they were not necessarily smarter or worked 80 hours per week, but they just paid attention earlier. They asked themselves, what am I actually getting paid for? My judgment or just my time? When the answer started changing, they changed with it, and that's the skill matters. You need to know that AI did not suddenly show up last year. We have had automation softwares for decades. Excel replaced calculators, not accountants. Emails replaced typing letters, not people. Online booking replaced forms, not travel agent, and the list goes on. None of that was new. So why does this feel different now? Because for the first time, technology is replicating parts of how you think. Earlier, the automation took over repetitive physical tasks, but AI is taking over repetitive mental tasks now. It's summarizing, it's writing, it's analyzing patterns, drafting emails, coordinating schedules for you, even designing and planning. That's the change you are experiencing. And if you think your work is not repetitive, I need you to think twice. Because most knowledge work is more repetitive than we admit. How many times you have written basically the same email with slightly different details? And how many reports follow the exact same structure every month? And how many meetings could have been a summary? That's what AI is learning to do faster than you think. And it feels sudden because for years AI was bad. It was chunky, it was slow, and it made weird mistakes. You would try it once and laugh at the output and go back doing it yourself. But now it crossed a line and became usable. And once a tool becomes usable, adoption happens faster than you can imagine. Do you know ChatGPT went from 0 to 100 million users in just 2 months? Companies did not wait for permission and started testing it already. And now it's rolling out fast everywhere. And I also want to talk about the biggest misunderstanding I hear everywhere. AI does not replace jobs, it replaces tasks. I know that sounds like small difference, but it changes everything. Think about your job for a second. Your job is not just one thing. It's about emails, reports, meetings, research, follow-up, analysis, coordination, problem solving, and whatnot. AI doesn't need to replace all of that. If it replaces just 30% of tasks, suddenly one person can do what two people used to do. And that changes the math for companies faster than you can think. And most sneaky part is jobs don't disappear with a big dramatic layoff anymore. They disappear through attritions. Someone leaves and that job does not get refilled. The work gets redistributed across the teams and no announcement and no headlines. And if you are one left behind doing more work, you're told, We have the tools now, and this should be faster. And that's why people could be confused. They say, but my job still exists. Yes, for now, because the job is not gone yet. The capacity per person is being recalculated, and the shape of the job is changing. And when the shape changes enough, the role changes. And eventually, management realizes they don't need as many people to do it. When ChatGPT first came out, I thought it was a gimmick. Another tool people would hype for another year and then forget. I tried it once, I wasn't impressed, and went back to working the way I always had. But after a month, I gave it another shot because I kept hearing people talk about it. And then I started using it for small things. Over time, I realized I was freeing up my mental space for strategy, for creative thinking, and better decisions. And today, Emerald runs as a lean team specifically because of AI. Now I can call it my personal assistant that never sleeps. It helps me move faster, think clearer, and focus on what only I can do. And that's exactly what I mean when I say AI does not replace you if you use it in the first place. And this is why job titles won't save you. It does not matter if you're a manager, analyst, designer, marketer, or engineer. What matters is how much of your daily work is predictable, repeatable, and easy to assist with the software. Because AI does not care about your seniority, it cares about patterns. Companies are looking at tasks and not as much as titles. And if your task can be done faster with fewer people, you are not safe, you are just next in the line. So you are probably thinking, is my job safe or not? The honest answer, it's not about your titles, it's about patterns. The jobs that feel the shift first have all three things in common. First, the work is repetitive. If a big part of your day looks the same every week, same reports, same format, same steps, AI learns that very quickly. And second, the work follows the clear route. If your decisions are mostly based on checklists, templates, or past examples, AI is already good at it. Third, the work happens entirely on screen. If your entire job lives inside a laptop, it's about analyzing, writing, coordinating, reviewing. AI can sit right next to you and do the parts for you instantly. And that's why this wave hit white-collar jobs earlier than people expected. Now notice, I did not say freshers only. I did not say juniors only. I did not say any specific industry. And before you push back, I get it. Experience helps. Judgment helps. Context helps. But experience alone does not protect you if the work itself is predictable. I talked to someone who works in a legal document review, basically reading contracts to spot issues before they go to the senior lawyers. Their firm used to have 120 junior associates doing their work, and now they only left with 70. The rest of the work handled by AI that can scan thousands of pages, flag problematic clauses, and cross-reference law. And the associates who survive are the ones who can explain why something is a problem and negotiate with clients. And the ones who just highlighted the sections, they are not there anymore. And this is where the most people misunderstand what's actually happening. This does not mean that everyone in these roles loses their job. It means the bar moves. What used to be considered good enough won't be good enough anymore. Let's understand this with an example. Two people work in the same company, same role, and same experience. One of them started using AI to draft faster, summarize better, and think through options before meetings, and catch things they used to miss. The other person keeps working the old way, not because they are bad, just because they are comfortable. 6 months later, no one gets fired, but when leadership looks at who can take more responsibilities, who can move faster, who seems higher leverage, the gap is obvious. Same job, same title, but the very different future. And that's how people fall behind without even realizing it. They think they are doing just fine because they are still employed, but fine is not the bar anymore. Now this is what confuses people the most. You read the headlines that says AI will disrupt millions of jobs, But the same report says employment stays mostly stable. Now, how does that make sense? What's happening is one job lost does not mean automatically one person unemployed forever. Goldman Sachs has said AI could disrupt hundreds of millions of jobs globally. But in the same report, they're very clear. Disruption does not automatically mean mass unemployment. The World Economic Forum has been saying this constantly. Millions of jobs get displaced and millions of new roles are being created alongside them. So on the paper, employment still looks stable, but the lived experience and the data part ways. Imagine a company that has 10 customer support agents. AI takes over part of that work. Those are 10 real people and 10 real disruptors. But the same company might then hire 3 people to manage AI systems, 2 to review quality, and 1 to design the workflow. On the paper, the net job loss looks smaller, sometimes neutral, but for the individual, the disruption feels really huge. And that's why the conversation feels so disconnected. Because economists talk in aggregates and workers talk in lived reality. The future is not that humans don't need to work, it's that humans will need to work differently. And we are living through that gap right now. And whenever this conversation comes up, someone inevitably asks, when will the government steps in? The short answer is they will. Not just as fast as people expect, because governments are built to respond after patterns are clear, not while they're still forming. They wait for the data, for impact, for proof. And technology moves in months, but policies moves in years. When factories automated in 1980s, retraining program did not scale until 1990s. And AI won't be any different. Most safety nets are designed for unemployment. But this transition creates unemployment, slower growth, fewer opportunities, and that's harder to detect, even harder to fix. So yes, there may be reskilling programs, incentives, new policies, but none of that arrives before the disruption. And here is what most people don't realize. Now the gap is not going to be between employed and unemployed, it's going to be between people who adapted and people who waited. And adapting does not mean becoming an AI expert, it means changing how you relate to your work. Right now, AI creates 2 very different outcomes. For some people, it becomes a shortcut, they use it to offload their repetitive tasks, they move faster, they think better, and free up time for judgment and creativity. For others, it becomes competition. This gap does not follow age, degree, or experience, because I have seen seniors ignore these tools because they have always done it their way. And I've also seen juniors struggle because they rely on AI without understanding the work. It's not about being young or being old, it's about being intentional. The people who come out ahead aren't the ones working harder, they are the ones redesigning their roles. They have figured out the difference for being paid for tasks to being paid for the judgment, and that's the gap. So when the people hear all this, the natural question comes to them, what do I actually do? Now I want to share the simplest framework which I mentioned earlier. It's a quick way to assess where your job actually stands, and here is what you can do this week. You can start with step number 1. Write down last 10 things you actually did at work. Not your job description, your actual work, your emails, reports, meetings, reviews, whatever it was. Step number 2, next to each one ask yourself, did this require a specific judgment or could someone else have done it with a clear instruction? And be honest. Step number 3, now look at the task that did not need your judgment. That's the work you need to redesign, delegate, and automate. Because if you don't choose to let it go, someone else will decide it for you. If AI can help you do something faster, let it. But use this save time to go up the value chain. Use the time to solve harder problems, build stronger relationships, and make decisions that need context only you have. And own your outcomes, not just tasks. And finally, I have to say, AI is not evil. It's not here to wipe out work overnight, but it is changing how value is created. The danger is not the jobs disappear tomorrow. The danger is assuming your job will look the same next year just because it looks the same today. And if you are already thinking differently about your work, that's the whole point. Subscribe if you want more conversation like this, and tell me in the comments what's one task you do regularly that probably does not need you anymore. And this is my perspective on what matters. See you in the next video.